Greetings YouTube! Skill Incarnate back with the third episode of my Indie Showcase series. A series where we look at games that are low in price, but high in value. And we're going to start off strong with a developer whose work I've checked out in the past. Albatross, Wirehead and Justwall Games made two excellent space exploration games called Death Rings of Jupiter and Evidence of Life. Now, while I really liked these games, I felt that they had a bit of a lack of depth. The environments that you had to explore were a little bit limited, either the empty depths of space or a single planet that looked a little bit too samey for my liking. Now, they've fixed all of these issues with Terrene, their new title. Terrene has you again in the role of a space explorer, gathering materials in order to keep your colony running, but this time you have a lot more options. To start with, there are a number of different planets to explore that you can travel between with your new vehicles. You have a space station that you can upgrade, as well as a fighter that acts as a mobile base. One of the most interesting innovations is the way that the planets now react to your efforts of exploration and mining. As you mine the planet and you damage it, the inhabitants will begin to become more aggressive towards you, meaning that you need to adopt a very careful, deliberate style of play. This is a very clever way to make the game a lot more challenging. Now, I'd recommend this game to anyone who previously enjoyed the developer's work, as it feels like a perfected version of their previous games. I'd like to see more of their work in future, maybe something a little bit different this time. But otherwise, this is a very good effort from the developers, and I look forward to seeing their future work. Check this out if you're interested. It's on itch.io, it's not currently on Steam, and I hope that they do manage to eventually get it on Steam. On to the next game. And for the next game in the lineup, we have Bon Appetit by DXF Games. DXF Games were the developers behind an excellent 2D RPG called Equine the Lantern. I've covered it previously on the channel, and I really enjoyed it. They've gone for something a little bit different here, with a 2D platformer with roguelike elements. This game combines a lot of charm with some simple graphics and a funny sense of humour. Now, this game has already got some very good reviews on Steam. A lot of people are enjoying it, and I think you guys might too. If you like your Metroidvania games with a sense of humour, then you may want to check out Bon Appetit. It's simple graphics, but it's a pretty funny game, and it's also a very big challenge. The best part is that, like all of DXF Games titles, it's very affordable. So check this out if this is the sort of game that you like. It's very, very cheap on Steam, and it's currently doing really well. On to the next game. And for the next game in our lineup, we have Jumping Mellow by Glidersoft. Jumping Mellow is a 2D time attack platforming game where you play the role of a sentient marshmallow trying to make your way to the top of a maze. You can challenge other players around the world for the best time, and the jumping mechanics and physics in this game are very well implemented. The only problem I have with this game is the price point at a whopping $15 on Steam. Now, there is a very competitive platforming market on Steam. There's a lot of platforming games, some of which are far cheaper than this, and some of which have a lot more content. This isn't the worst game out there though. I think they just need to revisit the price. I think around $5 this game would be an absolute recommended pickup from me. My recommendation at the moment is to keep an eye on this and wait for the price to drop to a little bit more of a reasonable amount. $5 or $6 I think would be fine, but for the moment keep an eye on this, hang on to your money, and hopefully it'll come up in a future sale. On to the next game. And for the next game in our lineup, we have Evans Remains by Whitehorn Digital. Evans Remains is a 2D platforming game with a series of very interesting and intricate puzzles as the game progresses. I really like this game because, like puzzle games like Rain City, the difficulty starts off very gentle and it eases you into the game mechanics. A lot of problems with puzzle games is that they'll often start off extremely difficult and it will put players off. The jumping puzzles are simple, but they get fiendishly difficult later on. I like the look of the game, the anime-inspired look, and the gentle music helps to lull you into a false sense of security, especially later in the game when these puzzles get quite difficult. I really like this game, I like the look of it, and I only wish I had have gotten a bit further in so I could show you some of the later puzzles in the game. Give this a try if you're into anime style games and you like puzzles. It's an interesting game, it has a nice story, the gentle music and the nice graphics I think were what sold it for me. But $10 on Steam I think is a very reasonable asking price for this game. I hope to play a little bit more of it, and maybe at some point I'll do a playthrough. I'll add it to the ever expanding list of games I want to do a playthrough for. On to the next game. And for the next game in our lineup, we have Naturalealia by Butnariu Ovidiu. Naturalealia is a 2D platforming game, with your goal being to avoid a variety of dangers in the forest you live in, ranging from falling logs to a fatal case of lead poisoning from the variety of hunters after your pelt. Now, while this game has a charming art style and an interesting soundtrack, I did notice an intermittent defect in the game with the controls locking up. The result being I could not move left and right. This problem seems to happen at random, and I've done a variety of testing with a number of different devices and controllers as well as the keyboard and mouse. Due to this issue, I can't in good faith recommend this game, but if the developer is watching this, I'm happy to reach out to you and share my findings. If the developer does get back to me and resolve the issue, I will definitely let you guys know, because this game is a lot of fun and I'm sure it would appeal to an audience based on its nostalgia. On to the next game. And for the next game in our lineup, we have Terrene by one-person development team Charles Dioye. I hope I got your name right, Charles. Terrene is a platforming / puzzle game with the premise of you being a developer who's been trapped inside his own computer program. Now visually this is one of the most pleasing games I've seen. It looks amazing, and the fact that it was done by one developer makes it even more impressive. This game looks amazing. It does give you the feel of being inside a computer in a living, breathing electronic world. Now the only thing that I found to be a little bit disconcerting is the price of the game. It's not cheap, it's around $25, and for an indie game even of this visual quality that feels a little bit steep. But if you like your puzzle games, if you're looking for something that visually is next level for an indie game, then this may be one you want to pick up. I'd like to return to this game when I've played a little bit more. I've only done the very small part of the first section of the game, and I would like to tell you more about what the later game looks like. But have a look. This is definitely one you may want to check out. On to the next game. And for the next game in the lineup, we have Waifu Hell by Konnichiwa Games. Waifu Hell is a first-person anime-themed shooter in the tradition of games like Quake 3. Now, while this game does remind me of some of the old arena-based shooters and it does have some nice controls, the main problem is that the game is very light on content. In fact, it feels more like a tech demo than an actual game, with at the time of recording only one enemy, one weapon and one level. The enemy AI is very simplistic, but the main problem with the game is some of the horrible clipping. I frequently found myself falling through walls and floors, and it was very unfair, some of the deaths in the game, the enemies seeming to never miss, and also being able to shoot you through walls. Now, hopefully if they do manage to iron out some of these issues and add a little bit more content to the game, I'd happily recommend this, but even for hardcore anime fans like myself, there simply isn't enough here in terms of content to recommend this yet. On to the next game. And for the next game we have Tanklike, a roguelike arena shooter by single-person development team Julian and Edison. Tanklike has you exploring a maze of dangerous enemies in the role of a tank driver, and you're able to play this game with up to 3 of your friends. The charming graphics and simple soundtrack really sold me. The difficulty of the game is no joke either. If you're looking for a challenging game with procedurally generated levels and interesting enemies, then this game may be one you want to try out. Now, the only downside to the game was that at the time of recording it was around $14–15 Australian, and for an indie game, especially one that's this early in development, felt a little bit steep. But if you like these sort of games, then it will be money well spent. Check this out if you like games like Ballistic Tanks. On to the next game. And for the next game in the lineup, we have something a little bit different. This is Goat of Juvty by Razor Games. Goat of Juvty has you playing the role of a weaponized goat, trying to destroy a bunch of other goats in a large arena full of fun, frags and death. Now, this game is actually quite good. I thought it was just another one of those meme games that I'd throw away in 2 seconds, but the main thing is that the controls are really tight. The gameplay is fast and furious, and it's just actually a lot of fun. The problem is that this game suffers from the same problem a lot of other arena shooters suffer from. There's just simply not enough people online. Now, this game recently had a free weekend, and even though they did, there just doesn't seem to be many people, so hopefully in having this episode I might actually see a few of you in game. Check it out, it's a lot of fun. If you like games like Quake 3 and Unreal Tournament, you may want to give this one a try. Bots are fun, but real players in this game would make it a hell of a lot better. In fact, I think the biggest problem with this game is that Razor Games made the infinitely better Song of Horror game, which really makes every other game they've made pale in comparison. This game's a lot of fun though, and I definitely recommend you try it out if you want a fun, fast, and most importantly cheap first-person experience. Check out Goat of Juvty. It's quite cheap on Steam, and I've seen it up there for free a few times. You may want to give this one a go. On to the next game. And for the next game in the lineup, we have Second Shuriken, a time attack first-person game where you play the role of a ninja trying to make his way through a maze of enemies. Now, this game is one of the most challenging time attack games I've played, and I'm not very good at these games, as you can see. But it's a lot of challenge, it's very addictive, and it does tend to lend itself well to the perfectionists amongst us that want to get a perfect score. As you can see, getting a 3-star is very, very difficult. I'm still yet to earn one, but I'm looking forward to being able to get some nice scores up on the scoreboard so for your bragging rights. If you like these sorts of games, you may want to check this game out. It's a lot of fun, it's a lot of challenge, and it's very inexpensive on Steam. Check this out if you like games like 10 Second Ninja X and you're a little bit of a masochist. On to the next game. And for the next game in the list, we have Tars by Greather Games. Tars is a post-apocalyptic survival horror game in the vein of the Resident Evil series. Now, this game doesn't have a lot of budget. It's not the prettiest game in the world, but it makes up for it with a healthy dose of atmosphere. The game has you in the role of a military operative on a rescue mission. trying to get some of your colleagues back who've been under attack by a vampire coven. The enemies are very difficult. In fact, every single one of them can kill you in a single hit. Supplies are very limited and you'll need to play smart in order to survive. I've really been enjoying this game, and the only lament is that you don't seem to get any of the bigger weapons I was hoping for, but they may be a deliberate choice on the developer's part to make the game feel a little bit more atmospheric and scary. Now this game is only $3 on Steam, so for that price is definitely worth a look if you like your survival horror games. I'm on my 4th attempt through the game. It's very difficult and I'm yet to see the end, but from what I've seen so far, for only $3, I can definitely recommend you give this one a go. On to the next game. And for the next game in our lineup, we have 6 Extinction by Polty Games, a one-person development team who've made a puzzle game for the Android. Now I'm playing this on an emulator, but I have been enjoying this one in between doing work on my mobile phone. It's a fun little game, and the best part is that it's very inexpensive at a mere $3. If you like puzzle games and you're looking for mobile games that aren't too expensive, then this one may be a natural choice for you. I don't get too many mobile games on here to try, so when I get these types of games, it's great to give them a go. If you like these games, you may want to give this a try. It also has a very interesting story. On to the next game. And for the next game in our lineup, we have Wild Terra by Juvty Games. This is a mix of open world and survival mechanics. It reminds me of a mix of Diablo and Warcraft. Now, I was really interested in trying this one out, but unfortunately, the main problem is this is in very, very early access, and there aren't any players online. The game doesn't even have a release date yet on Steam or a price. I just wanted to show you the game because it does look promising. Despite the rather rudimentary graphics, I have enjoyed the brief time I have been able to play this, but the problem is, again, it's very unstable. There's a lot of updates and my game's been reset several times. My recommendation for you guys would be to keep an eye on this. It's set to release sometime this year, but hopefully we'll have a more concrete release date closer to when the game's ready. Check this out on Steam. Hopefully they'll have a demo up for you to try soon. I'll certainly keep playing this and I'll let you know once it's in a state that's a bit better for a review. On to the next game. And for the final game in the lineup today, we have Lootbox Life by Konnichiwa Games. This is a 2D platforming game that pokes a bit of friendly fun at the AAA gaming industry, in particular their obsession with loot boxes and gambling. This game has some nice friendly 2D graphics, a gentle soundtrack, and a pretty high difficulty level for a game that's aimed at young children. Now this is a lot of fun, and it was great to see Konnichiwa finally get this onto Steam. But it's actually not my favourite game from their lineup. That honour belongs to Stoneblade, a Tetris-like game with a few innovations. So hopefully if we see this game on Steam, we may see some of their other work. But it's great seeing a small developer have a bit of success on Steam. Check this out if you like 2D platformers with a bit of difficulty, or if you have young children looking for a challenge. That was it for my 3rd episode of the Indie Showcase series. Hopefully you picked up a few games that you may want to try out, and a few developers you may want to follow. As always, the games that I got were all provided for the purpose of review. My opinions are my own, and I was not paid for any of the reviews done in this episode or any other. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd love to hear from you. If you played any of these games and you enjoyed them, let me know. If you're feeling really kind, I'd love to get a subscription from you or your opinion in the comments. Hopefully you'll join me next time when we look at some more indie games. Until then, Skill Incarnate, out.